Welcome to the Dr. Maria Show. Well, the Supreme Court seems poised to rule alongside parents who don't want their young children reading sexually inappropriate books. We had Judge Kavanaugh, talking about how he's been a lifelong resident of Montgomery County, Maryland, and there was always opt-outs in the county. So if, say it's sex ed, you wanted to teach your children yourself, you could opt out of sexual education. And all of a sudden, mid-year through, they didn't allow parents to opt out. Children as young as kindergarten in public schools had these books about gender confusion, boy liking boy, having two mothers, things that parents, because of their religion, did not want their children exposed to this. Well, it's very interesting. Judge Kagan, who's often thought of as a liberal judge, said, irregardless of religion, I couldn't believe it when I looked at, and I'm paraphrasing, when I looked at these books that the teachers were defending letting these kids see these type of books. And I was very happy for her articulating that, because I know sometimes we say because of our religion, but really it's moral decency. It's common sense. We don't want to expose our children to things that they don't need to see at this young age, especially when our scores for mathematics and science are plummeting. You know, the Board of Education only came into being in the Carter administration. Prior to that, we were doing pretty good compared to other countries with math and science scores in particular, and in reading. But ever since the Department of Education came into being and teachers' unions had all the control, it seems like our kids and their education is really last on the list. Well, this is really heating up what's happening in Maryland right now. Let's just watch how parents want to reclaim their role in their children's education.
Montgomery County, Maryland school board members think that parents have no right, none, to object to their children being exposed to sexually inappropriate, most would say deviant, materials. Second, liberal parents love having their sons and daughters steeped in this filth, but the parents objecting are actually themselves a diverse group.
Hundreds of parents complained, mostly families from Muslim faith and Ethiopian Orthodox, who were objecting when they spoke to the board. The board accused them of using their religious beliefs as another reason to hate, accused a young Muslim girl of parroting her parents' dogma, and then accused the parents of aligning with racist xenophobes and white supremacists.
Okay, this is sick stuff. By the way, do you think those folks came legally from their homeland to come here to have their kids taught like that? I don't think so. That's not what they thought they were getting in America. But the books in this curriculum are for, remember, kindergarten through 5th grade. To give you an idea what 5-year-olds in Montgomery County are learning, look no further than Pride Puppy, about a dog going to the Pride Parade with its family. At the end of the book, there's even a search and find word list. It includes the words intersex, drag queens, lace, and leather. Lovely. Justice Kavanaugh today pressed the Montgomery County attorney about why they simply didn't allow students to opt out.
Every other school board in the country has opt-outs for all sorts of things. The county has opt-outs for all sorts of things. The other Maryland counties have opt-outs for all sorts of things. And yet for this one thing, they changed in mid-year and say no more opt-outs.
So these radical activists posing as educators are doubling down. We thought we saw the worst of it during the Biden administration, and maybe they learned their lesson and are embarrassed what they're trying to do to our children. But no, they're doubling down hard. Well, my next guest, Adam Sajak, is a dad from Maine who has a young son, Knox, which, by the way, is a great name, and he experienced the same thing. Welcome to the show, Adam.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I love your son's name, Knox, 11 years old at the time. I'm sorry he had to go through this. What was happening in the school system in Maine?
You know, the whole education system is falling apart. I feel like they're so focused on this DEI practice instead of actually trying to focus on core academics and teaching our kids real life skills they could use in the real world. You know, everybody called what we were doing was book banning. What we were trying to do was remove these sexually explicit books. But I mean, if you look at these national test scores, what's happening is our whole education system is failing our kids. Fourth and eighth graders are, barely able to read, write, or do math at grade level. And if you want to complain about book bans, there's really no worse book ban than a child who can't read. So instead of trying to pull these, worry about pulling these books out that are sexually explicit in nature, why don't they try and teach these children so they can read at a grade level that's appropriate?
Yeah, Adam, I agree with you. And I think if we really want to give our children a leg up, because there are kids who are living in poverty, that's to give them a great education. If they can read, comprehension, if they know math really well, science really well, the world is their oyster. I don't know why they can't see that. And it seems like one party, the Democrat Party, wants to hook their hook, line, and sinker to this hypersexualization to our children in the same sex and transgenderism to our children. And it's not right. It's simply, I can't think of any big fancy words to describe it. I feel myself, it's evil, it's perverse. And thank the Lord, we have parents like you who are involved in their children's education and could expose this. I actually have a little clip of Knox. Let's watch Knox reading this book.
Hi, my name's Knox Zajac. I'm 11 years old and I go to Wyndham Middle School. I'm a sixth grader. I was in the library and this book was on a stand. I'd like to read you a page. My back over my hips as I ask if we should take our clothes off. And he's saying yes before I finish my sentence. He's pulling off my t-shirt, laughing when I can't undo his shirt buttons. He's undoing my belt. I'm reaching into his bedside drawer for a condom. We're kissing. Again, we're rolling over. Obviously, you can see where this is going. I don't know if it's because we're feeling especially emotional or just tired, or these past couple of weeks have been too much. But this reminds me so much of the first time we had sex. We were both fucking terrified, and the whole thing was kind of terrible because we didn't know what we were doing. But it was good too, so good, because we were a mess of emotions, and we were scared and excited, and everything felt new. So this sort of feels like that. Nick touches me like he's scared that any minute. Now, this book was at my middle school, and it was on a stand. When I rented it out to show my dad it, the librarian asked if I wanted more and if I wanted a graphic novel version.
Adam, I have to tell you, my stomach turned over. I think that is disgusting and it angers me. I remember when this video kind of went viral and I saw it and I'm having the same reaction again. Our children shouldn't be exposed to that. What happened in the end? Were these books removed?
It still makes my stomach turn watching it again just now. No, the books did not get removed from the school. If anything, it actually garnered more books in the library for our children because with the constant board meetings that I attended and the citizens of our town showing up to complain, the only thing it did do was offer up a team to inspect the books and review them, and the board chose their own select committee for it. They purchased, I think it was 10 or 12 books for the reviewers, and at the end of the reviewing, they decided to keep the books, which then in turn went on to the shelves in our school. And I hate to be one that's always complaining. So last year, I knew I wasn't getting any legroom moving forward with the school system, and I decided to put that effort to good use. And I ended up opening a skilled trade school. I'm a certified welder for pharmaceutical and high purity TIG welding, and I ended up building a school that I offer high school kids for free in the community. And we work on projects that we can actually help out citizens of the community by donating and giving back, which has been really fun and actually pushed me to run for school board for this coming year, which I intend to try and put into the school system for 2025.
Oh, that is wonderful. Through this whole, I'm calling it a revolution, that we're waking up in America. And I know myself, I just kept going on with my life, and I just assumed that people would do the right thing. Yes, I knew there's some evil in the world, but I always thought good would balance it. And when we saw all this craziness, especially during the Biden administration, happening in this perversion to our children, we saw so many parents like you getting involved, and I think that's a good thing. But I do feel bad for the kids that are still exposed to this. I cannot believe a select board chose to keep books like this. And I don't like it, Adam, when they get it twisted, when they say, oh, you believe in censorship and book burning. I believe in protecting my child. I'm not talking about burning this book. I'm saying it doesn't have any place inside a school under 18 years old. I'm sorry. It just doesn't, plain and simple. And their name calling does not affect me. They could call me a book burner. I don't care. And I wish we could do more. Maybe, will you be running for the school board that your son, that at this particular school, I forget the name of the school here that he was at.
It's Wyndham High
Raymond School.
Yep, RSU 14. We're going to make schools great again.
We need to, but I like the thought about what you're saying about a skills school that you're doing, a technical school. I did undergraduate work in Germany, and I really liked their school systems. They were very, very highly into, just like Italy's got a really great school system, very traditional education. And then when you start getting towards high school, not everybody, we want in universities, right? Doing academic type stuff. Yes, we need research, we need professors, we need other professionals, but we need people to help our countries move forward. We need the welders. They're just as important, just a different track. And in high school, they would start to offer those skills training. So when you did get out of high school, you could pretty much get into a job of your liking. I know one young lady in Germany, when I was there in high school, she learned how to be a dental hygienist. So when she was out of high school, she was already in the workforce. I really like that. I don't think everything has to be taught in the university setting. Like certain things you could do in a regular technical school.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually, last year, we had taken on a foreign exchange student from Italy who was a senior. And it was pretty eye-opening to see how he cruised right through our school system here. And it was a breeze. He never had homework. He didn't have to study because they were about 3 to 4 years behind his education system in Italy. Um, it was just really, really eye-opening to the whole thing.
You know, even for me, when I was doing my undergraduate work many, many years ago, I had always thought the United States, we're number one in everything. No one's going to compare anything to us. And my eyes got opened in Germany for that first time when it came to the school system. And their healthcare is actually very good in Germany as well, too. I was very impressed. And as a medical provider, I learned a lot there. I learned to blend Western and Eastern medicine. In the United States, we tend to want to give a pill for everything. And so I had a great education there in Germany. But yeah, it's interesting that you say that about the Italian student because their school system, and they really try to expand what's called critical thinking, especially when the child gets into high school. So they'll talk about a philosopher, but they really push you to come up with your own reasoning, where what we've been seeing is we're trying to dictate to our children how to think. It's not just within our school systems, it's within social media. It's in some of the corrupt AI that we saw that came out from Google that was trying to rewrite history. And we've all seen that if you're a person that freely thinks on their own, discusses it in a respectful way, if you're against your party, you will get ostracized. So I'm hoping that through a good education system, we'll get back on track. How is Knox doing? Did he suffer from, I can't even imagine fifth grade reading, even the few pages he read, and not being disturbed by that.
Yeah, he's a strong kid. He's a smart kid, and he understands what's going on more than most. He's old for his age, and for the teachers, I think a lot of the teachers were pretty scared of me coming to confront them if there were any issues that were put on to him. Just seeing me through the school board meetings for the past year and a half. So he was left alone for the most part, and a lot of people that agreed with us, uh, you know, treated him extra special. So he did all right.
I'm glad about that. I did see one, I think it was a parent, though, reading a book in a school board meeting, and they stopped him. They said, "This is so offensive." And it was remarkable because, okay, I can't read this in front of adult school board, but you want my child to read this? I'm just sorry they kept the books on the shelf. I really, really am. I think that was such a disservice to our children. But again, I'm very happy. Yeah, go ahead.
What's funny about that whole setup is we got a federal grant to build a new school. And I don't remember the number exactly, but while all this was happening, we had got a grant for, I think it was around 130 million approved for a new middle school. And, you know, knowing how it was in the Biden era with the Department of Education and the DEI that was being pushed, pretty sure that if the school board had agreed to pull those books in question, I think our grant would have been on the table for a rethought.
Yeah,
So I don't
I
know.
agree
We
with you.
might have lost it if they had pulled those books.
I agree
So
with you. And that was something they did quite often. And it even goes back to Obama when he bailed out the car industries, which I never agreed with. I like, let's see, if it fails, it fails. Maybe a better product will come out. That's what happened with steam boats. When that started to fail, new technology came out, cars came out. But anyways, when he bailed them out and then bailed out the banks, there was all these stipulations about DEI embedded in the contracts for the grants. So it's interesting that you say that, because that probably would have happened. Adam, let's watch this clip together of a Democrat politician kind of defending these books.
Why do you think this has become a passion project of some conservatives?
I continue hearing people making the argument that we're doing it because we want to prevent our students from having discomfort or guilt, because we don't want our students to be able to really wrestle with these really difficult things in times when they're maturing as individuals and difficult historical points. But the thing I realized, and I wanted to speak out about it, is that's actually not true. It's a guise.
It's not about making kids uncomfortable.
It's not about making kids feel uncomfortable. It's about telling other kids that they shouldn't understand their own power. It's castrating them.
That's Governor Wes Moore of Maryland, and he's so misguided. It simply does not belong in the classroom. I'm going to give you the final thought, Adam.
I really hope that our school systems come to their senses and really focus on core academics for our children and what's important for these kids to go out into the real world. Because what we're seeing right now, even with the colleges, I'm not really that comfortable with spending $80,000 a year to send my children to an indoctrination camp. We've really, really got to get these public schools fixed. Otherwise there's going to be a lot more homeschooling, and we need to get people that have the best interest for our children and society to come forward and play a role in our education system. So I really hope that we can come to our senses here and focus on the next generation.
Well said, Adam. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Well, you heard it. Parents, you've got to get involved. You got to know what's happening in the school systems. I've met so many good teachers who have told me these things, these education plans will come down from their superintendent that is really hypersexualized, and they just throw it in the garbage. Well, I question a few of them saying, why don't you stand up? Because you're not making a difference by just throwing it away. Yes, you saved your class from having to experience that and get all confused and whatever. And they just are afraid of losing their job. And I know that's a reality, but there are power in numbers. And there's enough people who could see the Marxist thread that is running through everything, the court system, the school system, even healthcare. Lot to think about. We're going to take a short commercial, and I'll be back with you shortly.
Have you ever wondered what happened to the legendary Chuck Norris? Well, I recently saw a video he made and I was shocked. That guy's amazing and he's staying active well into his 80s. What's even more shocking is he's stronger, can work out longer, and even has plenty of energy left over for his grandkids. He did this by just making one change. He says he still feels like he's in his 50s. His wife even started doing this one thing too, and she's never felt better. She says she feels 10 years younger, her body looks leaner, and she has energy all day. Chuck made a very special video that explains everything. Make sure you watch it by going to chuckdefense.com/Lindell. It will change the way you think about your health. Once again, that's chuckdefense.com/Lindell. You won't believe how simple it is. If you want to feel and look your best, you need to check out Pure Health Research. They have 45 premium health supplements that are designed to help you with everyday health goals. Whether it's boosting your energy or trimming belly fat, supporting healthy blood sugar, pumping your testosterone up, or even reducing swelling in your legs, Pure Health Research Supplement Store has you covered. Each formula is crafted with natural, non-GMO ingredients, backed by clinical research and manufactured right here in the USA. And here's the best part. Pure Health Research is offering you an exclusive 35% discount. Just go to purehealthresearch.com and use promo code Lindell at checkout. With their 365-day money-back guarantee, there's nothing to lose. So head over to purehealthresearch.com now, explore their 45 amazing supplements, and save 35% before this deal ends with promo code Lindell.
You all know I stand by the truth. And if I put my name on something, I truly believe in it. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to something I'm incredibly proud of. My own brand of organic specialty coffee, Rudy Coffee. Believe me when I say it's the best coffee you'll ever try. It's smooth, rich, chocolatey, and gentle on your stomach. It's so good, I even recommend drinking it black. It comes in 3 varieties, including what I promise is the best decaf you'll ever have. You can order now by scanning the QR code on your screen or by visiting rudy.coffee. By supporting Rudy Coffee, you're not just treating yourself to exceptional coffee, you're also supporting our cause, the cause of truth, justice, and American democracy. You'll also be supporting the Call to Action nonprofit, which is devoted to helping veterans and first responders, so you can make a difference and taste the difference by ordering today at rudy.coffee.
Welcome back to the Dr. Maria Show. Sometimes I read a story and I'm like, is this for real? A New Mexico judge last month resigned. Why? Because in February, his home was raided, and in his home was an alleged member of the Tren de Aragua gang. So in his resignation letter, he does not mention the raid or any ties with Tren de Aragua, just he appreciates his colleagues and he is resigning. And here is his picture. I want you to take a look at this man, Judge Jose Cano. Also in the home, in his daughter's home, were guns associated with Tren de Aragua. I'll never forget Chuck Schumer, Senate Minority Leader, saying we have the court systems. Well, Chuck, I believe you. I believe there's so many corrupt, dishonest, Marxist judges in our midst like we've never seen before, and no one's holding them accountable. Their bar associations instead would go after attorneys who exposed Biden corruption, but they're not going after these crooked judges and those who don't know the Constitution, who make up their own rulings and their own laws. They're not disciplined. Maybe they need re-education. I don't know. But we've seen it now in our court systems. We've seen it in healthcare. And we've seen it in our government. And we want to stop to it. Well, I'm glad tonight I have Eric Matheny, a renowned attorney, to help me sort through some of these issues, including the issue, should Pete Hegseth stay or should he go? Hi, Eric. How are you?
Renowned attorney. Now that's an introduction. I would have put my suit on for this. How are you?
I'm doing very well. And I don't know what's happening with Pete Hegseth. He is the Secretary of Defense. He was controversial in the beginning because even though he had military background, he is a war hero, decorated war hero. People saw him, I think, as a TV show host on the weekends on Fox TV. Well, he started doing some really good things, and then came Signalgate, and it seems to be continuing. What's going on, Eric?
Well, it's interesting, in my lifetime, I can think back to the Gulf War. I can think back to my early 20s when there were no efforts to get rid of the secretaries of defense who were all about regime change and foreign war. Think about it. When you look at the efforts that are being taken to remove him, this Signalgate, which kind of came and went, and now there's a resurgence of it, of all the cabinet picks of everybody in Trump's administration, who do they have their eyes on the most? Two people, one of whom is not a cabinet member, Elon Musk. Well, what's he doing? He's exposing corruption. What's the other guy doing? Not getting us involved in foreign war. Very famously, we have been warned in the past about the power of the military-industrial complex. And as long as we're engaged in that, as long as we're sending Ukraine untold billions upon billions of dollars, it seems like the political establishment is at rest and they're okay with that. You bring in the first Secretary of Defense in my 43 years who appears to have the platform that we are not going to involve ourselves in foreign wars. We're going to have a proper, well-trained, mission-ready military. We're going to reject all the wokeness and nonsense. And we're not just going to write blank checks and send them to oligarchs 6,000 miles away for conflicts that, frankly, don't concern us. If Russia and Ukraine went to war right now, if they lob missiles at each other for the next 6 months, you and I are not in danger. And if that's the criteria for going to war because Putin's a bad guy or whoever's a bad guy, then we have like 190 wars we have to wage because guess what? The world is a dangerous place. And we finally have somebody who's America first, and that terrifies the political establishment because you can have Trump and you can have everybody around him, but the guy that holds the key to the kingdom of war is the biggest threat to the deep state.
Very interesting. And I never liked all this money going to Ukraine. I didn't like it when Obama gave Iran, the biggest sponsor of terrorists, cash on pallets just because they asked for it. But your perspective is really interesting. So you think this is probably an effort for people to discredit him?
Well, I think it's an effort to discredit. I think there's a number of things. First and foremost, because of his association with Trump. I mean, look, they've taken enough shots at the king, literally and figuratively, on national television July 13th. So they definitely want to take anyone out around him, specifically those whom he has endorsed. Pete Hegseth is exactly who we need in the Department of Defense. He's not from the military-industrial complex. He comes from a world outside of it. He has military experience. He has combat experience. And he brings with him a wealth of knowledge and an outsider's perspective. I'm sure the deep state would love it if we had some career general turned lobbyist turned defense contractor to bring him in who says, yeah, hey, Zelensky needs another $200 billion. Let's do it. You want to commit military might, you want to commit equipment, whatever you want to do, we're in it because a lot of people stand to gain money. Ukraine is one of the most corrupt places on the entire planet. And the fact remains, a lot of money is changing hands. A lot of people, you don't come into Congress making $174,000 a year and all of a sudden 10 years from now, you're worth $15-20 million. Show me where in the private sector that's possible. So I think you have someone who's finally wanting to put an end to this grift, and it terrifies the people that are in power that stand to benefit from it.
Yeah, and I always wanted some answers to that for all these Congress people and senators who are made so much in the public life, making, as you said, $170,000 a year. We have Bernie Sanders. I'm in New Hampshire. So right next to us, we have Bernie Sanders. That's his only job, has always been public. We know his income. His wife is in the private sector, a teacher, but we can surmise what a teacher's income was. They have 4 houses. Like, how does that happen? We're lucky to have one and be able to pay for it.
No, that's exactly it. And I think again, it all comes down to this establishment that stands to benefit from their dealings and stands to self-deal. And that's why I think one of the reasons we're not going to see a serious push for term limits is these people are not going to vote against their own self-interest. If I told you there's a job out there, you have to have no competence, no talent, really no experience, and if you're in the right district, you might be able to get in at 25, 26 years old, and you'll stay here for the rest of your life, and you're going to get a six-figure salary right out the gate. And if you have questionable ethics, in a few years, you're going to be worth, 8, 9 figures. So for that reason, obviously they want to eliminate, war is very profitable for those there because, that money that we send over to Ukraine, that 200 billion, that 50 billion here, whatever the amount is going at a time, there's no oversight for it. And I know there have been a few in Congress who want to call for it, but by and large, people are like, look, we support Ukraine because Russia bad, and if you don't support Ukraine, then you must love Putin. We've all heard the talking points. We've all been called, Putin trolls and whatever they want to call us. But the bottom line is that the money that's going over there, first of all, where is it going? How's it being spent? I've talked about it on my podcast. Like, if I give my kids $20 to go buy candy and they come home and say, oh, we spent it all, we need more money. I'm like, wait a minute, what happened to the money that I gave you? The same thing applies. If we're giving Zelensky $200 billion, how is that being spent? And 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, if you're asking us for more, what happened to the money we gave you? And I think that begs the question. A lot of people are wondering, who in the States is benefiting from that? How is that money coming back to them in the form of dark money donations, PACs, money laundering? Hunter Biden, look, he was on a board making $83,000 a year. Then it comes out he's paying his father rent of $50,000. That money is coming back. That money is coming back, and it's greasing the pockets, and it's making these people rich. And you have somebody in a very high position of power, Secretary of Defense, who's not on board with that. And I think that terrifies people around him. So I think that's certainly the first and foremost motivation to get rid of him. Second of all, it allows them to take a shot at Trump. This is somebody Trump endorsed. It's someone in his cabinet. If they can put pressure on him to remove him, then they'll feel that they got some win. And one thing that I've said time and time again is don't let the deep state, don't let the political establishment do to Hegseth what they were able to do to Flynn. And that terrifies me. And I want to make certain very vocal about that. Don't let them do to Hegseth what they did to Flynn and also what they did to Matt Gaetz.
Yeah. General Flynn was exposing a lot, and they had to get rid of him. It's tragic how their lives were changed forever. He lost his family home. I hate that. But you bring up some great points about we have to be comfortable in our own skin, not to get involved in every conflict. But it's interesting what we've picked and chose what we got involved with. They're killing Christians in Africa, in a portion of Africa. And, it's terrible, but we don't get involved. And why we picked Ukraine, you are absolutely right. There is dirty money that is being spent on not only Democrats, but Republicans as well. Right. And we need accountability and transparency. But here's where I've been scared, Eric. I said that time period in November between when President Trump was elected up until his inauguration and after, the shredders are going overtime. I don't know if we'll ever get true transparency because I believe they're shredding and getting rid of documents like crazy. And I don't know. I just don't know where all that money went to. And a bill actually came up under the Biden administration to have accountability in Ukraine, and it was voted down. Who would vote that down? This is your money, my money, our children's money. It's really a tragic thing. And I think we're comfortable in this administration to say, listen, we may have some contractual obligations with NATO countries, but certainly we don't with Ukraine. And I'm so glad Secretary Rubio walked away from the meeting that was supposed to occur because it's going nowhere. Zelensky, he's going to be a fool to think he's not going to have to give up some land. But I think we should wipe our hands of it now. I'm kind of done with it.
I don't care, to be honest, and maybe that makes me sound insensitive, and I'm just sick and tired of pretending that I do, because I don't care what happens in Ukraine. I don't care what happens in Russia. I don't think highly of Putin. I don't think highly of Zelensky. I think they're both bad actors. And if they want to lob missiles at each other and they want to have their little border war, be my guest. It doesn't affect us. And you made a really good point. There are atrocities, there are genocides happening in Africa and other parts of the world that we don't even think twice about because there's no benefit in America. So to think it's this altruistic motive that we have to go be the world police and go stop the bad actors, like I said in the beginning of the segment, we have about 196 wars we need to wage. America first means America first, and it means the sobering reality that the world is a dangerous place and there are bad actors everywhere and we can't involve ourselves and spread ourselves too thin. I care about America. I care about Americans. I care what happens here. I care about the safety of my family. If a family in Ukraine is dealing with a war-torn nation, my heart goes out to them. But I'm not willing to work and have food taken from my table and money from my paycheck that I need to support my family to support a war that will never endanger the United States. Russia's not a threat to the U.S. Ukraine's not a threat to the U.S. And don't give me that humanitarian song and dance because like you said, and like I said, there are other places where we can be humane. We have to allow countries to settle their disputes and to be self-reliant. And we're self-reliant, and Ukraine and Russia, they can iron it out, they can work out a deal, or they can bomb the heck out of each other. Truth be told, it does not matter to me one way or the other.
Yeah, me neither. Down in Florida, along Palm Beach and Delray Beach, the yacht owners have told me directly to my face that they've never sold more yachts to Ukrainians. That's where our money's going, just to other oligarchs. Yes, there's oligarchs in Russia. There's oligarchs in Ukraine. During Fashion Week, a whole bunch of Ukrainian women, including Mrs. Zelensky, was spending piles of money in Paris. So it's all a scam. I'm done with it. I hope our administration just walks away. Let them fight it out. But I want to jump back to Pete, because I'm a little confused about this Signal Gate. Are they bringing up the same Signal chat mistake, or is it a new one?
It looks like it's a new one. So the original one was that big group chat that was in the media for a couple of days, and it was the number one story, and it kind of fizzled out. And now apparently there's another one where allegedly he had shared some information with his wife. So that's what they're hanging on to right now. I have seen no evidence that anything sensitive or classified was exposed. So again, I think it's a big nothing burger. And I think this is just kind of a reflection of how the next 4 years are going to be. Anything the Democrats can hang their hat on, and a significant number of Republicans too. The Republicans are not free of blame in all this as well. But the Democrats obviously leading the charge. You got to understand, they have been politically kneecapped. They lost the White House. They lost both houses of Congress. They are barely clinging to a 21% approval rating right now. And AOC, who just a few years ago was serving margaritas and chips and salsa, is now in the conversation for a 2028 candidate. They have nothing. They are a desperate, wounded animal of a party. And what I think is more likely to happen is you're going to see a summer like 2020 revisited. We're already seeing a little bit of that with the Teslas and the vandalism. Everything coming out of Texas right now with that tragic stabbing of that high school kid. I see the globalist elements. It kind of rhymes a little bit with what happened in summer of 2020, all the protests, the GoFundMe, the money, and I could see something like that being the catalyst for another summer of love. Again, Democrats they're not pragmatic. They have a rare opportunity right now, and I take a step back. Obviously, I'm a staunch conservative, but if I can put on my political science major hat for a minute and advise the Democrats, I would say you guys have a rare opportunity to rebrand and rebuild and to really do a post-mortem and look at yourself and go, how did we go from this once great center-left party to something that's resembling socialism? And it's turning off those people that voted for Clinton and voted for Obama, the people in Pennsylvania and Ohio. And you have an opportunity to get them back if you go to the center. Gavin Newsom, I can't stand him, but he recognizes that, and he's doing his podcast. He's bringing on guys like Charlie Kirk. He wants to be a front runner. Granted, I think what happened in California with the fires, he's toxic. I don't know if they'll make him the nominee, but there are some people in the party that are saying, guys, we got to get away from this wokeness. We got to get away from the transgender issue. That was me personally talking to a lot of lifelong Democrats who said, I held my nose and voted for Trump because of the transgender issue. I have a daughter in high school. I don't want some 17-year-old boy changing in her locker room. That's a real issue. People care about national security. They care about the economy.
The border. And the border. Yeah.
And the border, I don't care as hope to die, liberal as you are. Everybody wants a safe country. I mean, we saw it. Martha's Vineyard executed the most beautiful deportation in history. When the migrants came to their lily white enclave, they booted them in less than 24 hours. And they went on Facebook and said, we care. But the truth is they don't want it in their backyard. Just like anybody. If you're in Texas, you don't want it in your backyard any more than you want it if you're in Martha's Vineyard. We want a country that puts the interests and safety of Americans first. We have a pathway to citizenship. We are the most generous nation on the planet when it comes to immigration and opening our doors to people. But we're not without our limits. And we've been taken advantage of for too long. And there's a new sheriff in town. And the Democrat Party better recognize that the overwhelming majority of people, irrespective of political beliefs in this country, want safe and secure borders. And I would be focusing my efforts on that instead of setting Tesla dealerships on fire.
Yeah, you're so right. And it took me a long time to say Democrats like it's everybody's the same in the Democrat Party, because we're very different in the Republican Party, or if you're an independent, and it's accepted if you think a little bit differently, or you could have a respectful disagreement. The Democrat Party has become a party of hate and exclusion. So if you have a different thought, you're out. Whether you're a Democrat or who you are, you're out. And they've really become this party of intolerance because they don't accept people who think differently. They don't accept that we want to protect our children. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever witnessed. And I said, it needs to implode from within. It can't be me saying, you need to do this or shame on you. It needs to be like in healthcare. I need to be saying all the time how the corruption and the terrible deals with the drug companies. Same within the Democrat Party. From within, they have to say, we're going to change this party and we're going to be for values and the American people, or we're going to leave an exodus and form a new party. So I'm just waiting for that to happen.
Absolutely. And we will see what happens. But, it's a long road ahead. And I think we've seen, certainly with what's going on with Pete Hegseth, just the game plan going forward. And we're going to be addressing this issue time and time again, whether it's Hegseth or whether it's someone else. We're going to be dealing with this. And again, as an opposition party, you have to remember this is all they have. They really have no political clout. So, and I love what Trump's doing. And I think, executive order, steamroll those people. They didn't play nice. We don't need to play nice as well. This is the political, battle dome that we're in now, and it's fine by me.
It's shameful how they bankrupted people too, like Rudy Giuliani sticking up for law and order, sticking up for transparency about Biden and his corruption and Hunter's corruption. I hope Pete Hegseth stays strong. If he made some mistakes with the Signal chat, he needs to learn from them and be very savvy from now on. But they're starting with him about the drinking. So that's how they try to discredit people. Well, we've seen some politicians that we thought were drunk. Just watch this one.
I just have to remind you, don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
That was meant for a little bit of a joke, but come on, she had to have been impaired.
Yeah. So those clutching their pearls because Pete Hegseth likes to have a beer every now and then. She was, within earshot of becoming president, I guess. But wow, that is something to see. Yeah, no, she's. Thank God we dodged a bullet. I tell you that I'm very thankful every day. I think Donald Trump was spared on July 13th for a reason. I think God came down and divine hand saved his life because he had a job to do, and it was save this country. And we were on the wrong path. And if Kamala Harris would have won, I don't even want to think about what it would have been, but we have to stay vigilant. You can never get complacent. And I think Trump's got to keep doing what he's doing. He's doing a great job. I think this is the Donald Trump we always wanted to see. And this is a Donald Trump that's free of the burden of having to be reelected. And that's just the story. For the left, Obama in his second term was far more effective than he was in his first term because the shackles are off. And that's the Donald Trump that we love, and he's doing what he does best.
Absolutely. Eric, how do people see your podcast?
Bob and Eric Save America. Check us out. We are on Rumble. We're on X, and the audio version is on Apple iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. So follow me on X at Eric M. Matheny, also on Truth Social with the same handle.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's busy time in Rome. Hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of faithful Catholics are descending upon Rome to pay their respects. The Pope is lying in state, as we would say here in America for political or presidents. And people are coming by. They were supposed to close at midnight tonight, but I am hearing some chatter that because there are so many people who are coming in to pay their respects, that they may have it go a lot past midnight. So as the cardinals are descending upon Rome, they'll be getting ready to go into conclave. Before that, they go into... I showed some pictures on my last show right outside in the back of the Sistine Chapel, where most people can't see, that I happen to be in this big, glorious hallway, all full of marble. Down that hall is yet another beautiful chapel. It's not as big as the Sistine Chapel, but it's where the cardinals will go in right before they go into conclave. They pray. There's also a Bible there to be sworn to secrecy about their ballot. I put that out when I first came back from Rome from that particular visit. That here's where I think I put a picture of the Bible too, where they would swear to secrecy. Well, I didn't explain it well enough about their vote. So, I had a lot of comments about why does the Catholic Church need to do things in secret? We're still burning from the child abuse scandal and how priests were just put in other parishes and nobody was warned. And may I say that happens in other things? That happens with judges. Unfortunately, it used to happen with impaired doctors or nurses. I never did that. I had a nose to smell who was impaired, and through testing, when I found out someone was impaired, I removed them. They got help. I tell you, the physicians are a lot better at this with their medical boards. They get them help right away. I don't even think they have to pay for counseling and detox. I think that it was a little harder for nurses or radiology techs. They didn't have the resources with their boards. But I never did that. If the person wanted to come back into the workforce and they were clean and I got a reference, I had to be honest. I wish everybody can look themselves in the mirror and say, would you want to know about that doctor's past or whether that priest did something to a child? To me, when you're in a position of power and respect, a police officer, a doctor, nurse practitioner, a priest, if you ever hurt a child, number one, you can never go back in that field, but you should be hung from the town square because you betrayed public trust. Well, a lot is going to happen in the next few weeks in Rome. It's interesting. You may or may not like the Pope. You may or may not like Catholics, but it is interesting. Part of it is their history and their traditions make it interesting. Well, I thank you for joining me yet again, and we will see you on Friday night.